We're not just talking about an NFC East battle, we're talking about the divisional playoff battle and the right to go on to the NFC Championship game. Hey, how are you folks? Jason Horowitz, CBS Sports' Charley Casserly. Glad to be with you on the NFL previews here on CBSSports.com. And, of course, talking about the Eagles and the Giants. And, Charley, it's the third time these two teams have met. You used to be the GM of the Washington Redskins. You experienced playing a team for a third time. What's that like?
Well, I think we had two experiences. And they're both different. We played the Giants 3 times, and they beat us all 3 times on their way to the Super Bowl. The last one was in the NFC Championship game in New York. They were better than us. We played the Eagles 3 times in 1990, and we upset them in Philadelphia in the playoffs after they had beaten us in Philadelphia during the season. We had beaten them in Washington. The difference was this. When we beat the Eagles, we were evenly matched teams. It was going to be 50-50. We weren't as good as the Giants. So what's my point in all this? The better team wins. With the Giants in Philly, this thing's close enough where Philly can win this
So
game.
it's much more like your experience in 1990 where you split and then you went to Philadelphia and won the game, which is what Philly's trying to do here, go to New York and win, where they have won recently, Week 14. Now, Week 10, Charlie, the Giants had more than 200 yards on the ground in Philadelphia. Week 14, it was all about Brian Westbrook and the Eagles rushing attack, and the Giants offense really couldn't do anything. Is the ground game going to be the key that defines who wins this football game?
I think it is. Okay, now in the second game in which the Eagles won, a couple of things to me happened. Plexico Burress is not in the game. What does that mean? When Plexico Burress is in the game, that meant the Eagles had to keep a safety back to double cover him. Burress is not in the game. The safeties were freed up to come up against the run, get the extra guy in the box, get more run support. Also, Brandon Jacobs didn't finish the game. Now, let's flip it to this time. Brandon Jacobs supposedly is going to be healthy and ready to go. He is the kind of runner that can hurt the Eagles because the Eagles don't have a big defense. He wears them down, especially in the second half. So the key there is the Eagles have to go into the fourth quarter with a lead. If they're behind in the fourth quarter, they may not see the ball. They may get worn down. The key on the other side is Brian Westbrook, clearly one of the best players in the National Football League, and guess what? The guy's healthy. That's crucial. So the Eagles, he's got to get touches in the game. To me, he's got to get at least 20 touches in this game for them to win. If he doesn't, then I don't think the Eagles can win the game.
Yeah, they only have one loss this season when Westbrook touches the ball at least 20 times. And they did that last week. They didn't run it effectively, but they kept getting him the football, and they stayed with it. Charlie, if you're Steve Spagnuolo, though, you know that he's got to be the guy that you have to take out. So how do you make sure that Brian Westbrook is not effective for Philadelphia?
Well, one of the things, a couple of things. What you do is, and some of this they did last time, anytime you can make sure there's 2 people on Brian Westbrook in a passing route, then you make sure you do it. The other thing you want to do is be physical with the guy. Now, Brian Westbrook's a tough football player, so don't take that from that point of view. But you want to knock him around. When he doesn't have the football, hit him. Make him aware on every play this guy's going to get hit. Wear him down when he doesn't have the football. That's something to watch during the game.
Now, the other part, Charlie, when we talk about the Giants and the Eagles, we always talk about the defense and the pressure and the blitzes, and rightfully so because these two teams are so good at it. But when you look at those 2 games, the one in Philly, the one in New York, combined between the 2 teams, 1 sack. That's it. Now, there were pressures, but just 1 sack. You get the feeling that's not going to be the case here this weekend.
Well, you get that you hate that feeling going into both of those games. What you have here, this is like the father-son combination. Jim Johnson's the father, Steve Spagnuolo's the son. Why? Steve Spagnuolo worked for the Eagles for about 8 years and learned the pressure defense that he has basically implemented in the Giants with the Giants from the Philadelphia Eagles. So both teams kind of know they're going to get pressure. Both teams do a good job in pass blocking. The Giants do a better job. However, where Philly gets helped out is their passing game is a little bit quicker tempo. The ball comes out quicker. Down to McNabb, he moves around a little bit better, can avoid some sacks that Eli Manning doesn't. So it's a combination of knowledge, and it's a combination of style of passing games, and also the quality of the offensive line, why you haven't had many sacks. But you know what? The pressure's coming, so it's always out there.
Yeah, and who will block it better? That's the other question here. Now, the other part, Charlie, you hit on Eli Manning and you hit on Donovan McNabb. That's the other question here because both quarterbacks have been to a Super Bowl. Eli is a Super Bowl winning quarterback, a Super Bowl MVP. McNabb lost, obviously, but has played many playoff games throughout his career. In the fourth quarter, with the game on the line, this situation being in New York, which quarterback do you have your faith?
Well, it's really a flip of a coin. It could take either one here. But if you ask me to pick, I'll take Donovan McNabb this week. Eli Manning has struggled down the stretch, has not been as effective in December as you'd like him to be. Donovan McNabb is the hot guy in December. But you know what? It won't be them so much. It'll be, like you pointed out earlier, very accurately, who runs the ball the better. Whoever runs the ball the best in this football game, that quarterback's going to play the best.
All right, well, let's see what AccuScore thinks in terms of statistics and who's going to run the football better. 10,000 times, 10,000 mathematical tests, and AccuScore thinks the Giants will run the ball better, will score more points. 56% of the time, the Giants come out on top. And Charlie, the Eagles, people are comparing them to last year's Giants team. They didn't head into the playoffs with all that momentum, or they are heading into the playoffs with that momentum, especially towards the end, having to get in that blowout at the end. And you know, they won on the road. Can they do it again? Can they do it again? We've talked that this is not really a road game because it's not that far from Philadelphia,
right.
and they're used to playing here. Do you agree? Do you think the Giants win?
I'm going to go with the Giants in this game. Originally, during the early part of the week, I was leaning to Philadelphia, but the more I've thought about it, I think the difference is this. I think the Giants will control the line of scrimmage and run the ball, and I think the Eagles have had enough times this year where Brian Westbrook hasn't had the 20 carries, okay? And I think the Giants will handle the week off very well. They'll get rested. This is a veteran team. They've been in the playoffs continually now for the last few years. I think they'll handle the rest well. They need the rest well, and I think their running game will be the difference in this game. All
right, we'll see how it all plays out. 1 p.m. Eastern on Sunday, and for more on this game or any other here in the divisional weekend, be sure to stay with CBSSports.com. Watch everything else on the CBS Audience Network. For Charley Casserly, I'm Jason Horowitz. Take care, folks.